Hi, everyone. I'm Frank Mallicoat. I'm a news anchor and a reporter for KTVU Fox 2 here in the San Francisco Bay Area. My guest is a branding and marketing expert, the creator of the Master Brand Method. She's based here in San Francisco as well, and she is here to not only share her history, but to share some tips on how to get back off the mat if you happen to get knocked down during the pandemic. Let's say hi to Jen Kem. Hi.
Hey, Frank. Nice to be here.
Good to have you with us. Your story is pretty remarkable, where you are now and where you came from, and you hit a bump in the road back in 2008 during the recession. Give us a little thumbnail sketch about your background and your history.
Yeah, I spent 10 years in the corporate world, Frank, and then decided to take the brave endeavor of becoming my own boss, becoming a business owner. And when I did that, I decided to open a retail chain of stores in 2006. And it was doing actually quite well until the 2008 recession came. And anybody who were in the two industries, especially real estate and retail, which were the two industries that I was in,
Right.
didn't do or fare so well if they didn't have a lot of capital reserves and cash flow. And so I learned a very hard lesson in 2008 that it's very important to have reserves, even if you're great at marketing and sales, which I was, because that's my professional background, that alone was not what could create stability going forward. And so basically I lost everything. I lost my business. I lost my house. It was a huge hit to not just my business and my life, but my ego and my ability to see myself as a leader. And so it knocked me back obviously quite a bit. And I'm a mother, I have children to take care of. I had a family to support. And so I took that moment and I rebuilt my career, went back to the foundations, which is branding, strategy, marketing, and became a consultant for some of the biggest high-tech companies in the world, Microsoft, Oracle, a lot of the Bay Area companies. And then I decided to help entrepreneurs like me do the same, because a lot of small businesses who were in brick and mortar and more traditional businesses wondered, how was I able to bounce back after that? And now in times like these, it's really applicable because of the pandemic.
Absolutely. Well, you've worked with some amazing companies, Oprah Winfrey Network, with Steve Harvey and his crew, Blue Cross Blue Shield. How do you take what you learned or what you gave them? I mean, those are brands. You think of Oprah and anything she touches turns to gold. Steve Harvey's as hot as they come right now. How do you take something like that and then give it to a smaller company to grow and go?
Yeah. So it takes, to me, structure creates freedom, right? And so one of the things that I tell people when there's uncertainty, rely on some of the structures that you know. And I have a 4-part way that I look at anytime I'm dealing with an issue. I'm always asking myself, what's the mindset as a leader that I have to be in? What are the messaging points that I need to make as part of my business and brand? How should I be marketing the business? Because in any economy, good or bad, marketing is critical. And then finally, am I monetizing the right things that the market needs right now? Because it changes depending on the economic ups and downs. And so those 4 things, mindset, messaging, marketing, and monetizing, are the questions I ask. And I invite our clients to ask, are you focused on the right things during those moments?
Yeah, and I imagine you use those same core values to kind of reestablish yourself from '08 back on your own feet, right?
Absolutely. In fact, it's what I have to reset myself around and just remember those 4 really important pillars, because it's so easy to get, frankly, caught up in emotion and feelings during rough times. And so it's really important to go back to what are the facts at hand? How can I respond with what I know and the experience that I have? And then how can I then pivot and shift so that I can stay viable?
What advice would you give? Maybe a company's been hit pretty hard because of the pandemic, had to lay a lot of people off, sales are not good, or whatever product they're making is not selling. You step in and try to help them out. Take us through the process.
Yeah. So first is time and place. So what are the things that people actually need? Back to that. I think that, for example, if you have a brick and mortar and because of things literally been shut down, if you have a restaurant or you have a salon or you have a spa, you have to ask yourself, what are other ways I can serve the market and continue to earn income? It may not be the exact same income you were making pre the economic issue, but at least to stay cash positive in some kind of way. So choose what's working for your talents, your expertise, the products or the services that you have at hand, and focus on how it would serve the market in the current environment that we all are collectively sharing right now. The next thing is I always tell companies, now is a great time to evaluate your both sides marketing strategy. And what I mean by that is there's a digital strategy. You know, everybody has to go digital in some kind of way, right? Social media / digital. And a lot of people up until this point may have not invested enough in that. And now you've got the time. It's also, you know, to do that. But don't forget the analog piece, because when the world opens up again, and it will, right? People are going to still be wanting to interact with other human beings. They're going to want to be patronizing restaurants and salons and those types of businesses. So you want to have both sides covered, both the analog, which is your actual business, and then the digital, which is how do you let people know online how to find you, how to work with you, how to be with you, and integrate those two strategies together and better going forward so that you become what I call recession and future proof. Because if you can start to learn how to do both of those things and use this time as an opportunity to get better at it, then you're going to have, when the next thing comes, and there always is, every 10 to 12 years, something happens in the economy, you're ready. The next thing is finally to invest in yourself as a leader. So every single one of us, especially if you're a small business owner, a lot of it depends on us. You know, we are the people who push the buttons and make things happen. So make sure that you're investing in yourself during this time, whether it's learning a new skill, like for example, if digital is not something you're strong at, learn that new skill, teach your team to do that if you have a team, and so that you can create that longevity going forward, because it's hard to change things that have already happened. So the question is, how can you invest in yourself right now so that you have what you need the next decade and be ready for it now and next?
Sure. I have noticed some companies that they pivoted, maybe not in a money-making way, but a way to kind of keep their brand out there. You've seen wineries, distilleries making hand sanitizer, probably not a big money maker, but hey, you know, they did that for us. I love their wine. I love their whatever. That's probably some good advice as well, right?
Absolutely. You pointed something out so important, Frank, is that even during times like this, if you can't sell what your core offerings are, people want to follow brands that they trust. And that's a great point, that they're still offering some value, even if it's not directed to their core product or service, and letting customers know that, hey, we're still here serving the community. And when things get back to normal, we're going to be available to help you with whatever your needs are. So that's such a great point.
You talked a little bit about your core values. Maybe you can chat on those a little bit, how they translate from you to your client and then eventually to commerce and making a dollar.
Yeah. So, you know, again, I always like to say that the leader of the company is really the one that's imparting the value. If you think about the greatest brands today that we follow, Apple, Kentucky Fried Chicken, whoever you follow, their founder, even if they're no longer here on this earth with us, has still instilled core values that the company emits and evokes today. And even if you're a small business owner, it's the same thing. It starts with the founder, the leader, the person driving the company. So I always like to tell companies, think about what the core values of the company are. So in my case, our core values are autonomy, generosity, justice, leadership, and legacy. And we make our business decisions based on that filter. You know, are we allowing our clients to still feel autonomous and free, even if there are constraints on their lives? Are we offering things that give them that? And so companies that are clear on their core values allows their teams to get focused, and it also allows consumers to recognize how their values fit together, because people really buy on their values and beliefs. They're not really buying the product or the service. They are, if you know it's a quality product, a quality service, people obviously appreciate that. But what they're more caring about is, does this brand align with my life and the results I want in my life? Does it help me have a better life? Whatever the product is, even if it's wine, you know? So it's really important for the company to do stuff that's in alignment with their values. When they start to do things that are outside of what looked like their values, that's when it causes trouble. It causes reputation issues. It causes virality in a negative way on social media. And so it's really important for a company to have a set of core values and be able to communicate them on a regular basis.
And I would imagine that takes time. I mean, we like Kentucky Fried Chicken because it's been around forever. I have an Oric vacuum. I think they're great, and I would buy another one. My dad was a Chevy guy, always bought a Chevrolet, not a Ford. But they're instilled in us. How do you, as a brander, get that into the consumer for a particular product?
Mm-hmm. So that's such a great question, because it's true. There's a difference between inherited values, which that's a perfect example. Dad likes Chevy, not Ford, right? And then there's, how do you change people's inherited values? Because it does typically come from the environment that you grew up in, or maybe in your young adult life. We talked about going to college, going to UC Berkeley. Some of those things influence you. How do you get consumers to change? And that's what companies hire me for, right? And small businesses too. How do I get them to want me when they're so used to having KFC, for example? Like, let's say I'm a small boutique chicken brand, right? How do I get people to want that instead of what's convenient, which is KFC? And the thing I say is, you're not looking for the people who want convenience, because KFC represents convenience. And yes, it has a strong brand because it's been around a long time. What's the thing that actually sets you apart? What's unique about your business? And typically it's the story of the founder. KFC's legend comes from, the Colonel and his story. Apple, the legacy of Apple is really Steve Jobs' big vision, and so the question starts with the founder story. There's a lot of other elements. Obviously, we could talk all day about how to get people to love your brand, but the main one is your brand story, the core nucleus founder's origin story that then becomes legendary. And you keep using the story over and over again so that people can start to align themselves with that story.
It helps to have a good product too.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Maybe a little. You've also got a legacy project you're working on. Tell us about Femfluence.
Yes. So Femfluence is my podcast, and it's really ultimately when I became successful in business after I rebounded in 2008. What I noticed, especially as the mother of two young adults, both female, that I wanted them to be able to capture go and get what they wanted. I wanted to be the kind of parent and role model for them that said, you don't have to be what I want you to be. And so I created the Femfluence movement really for young women to be able to own their ability to be rich and recognized in their own way, to find their own freedom, their own voice, to not be completely held down by society standards, but really to decide what they cared about, regardless of their belief systems, and go for it. And so that's what the Femfluence movement is about. It's really more like my nonprofit part of my company.
Oh, that's great. That's your passion, though.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Well, Jen, if someone wants to get in touch with you or your brand, how do they do it?
I would love for you to come to my website. I have this incredible assessment that allows you to find out what your unique story is. You can go to jenniferkem.com, or you can follow me on social media. I love being on Instagram and LinkedIn. If you just search for my name, I'm going to be the top one that pops up there.
I bet you are. I bet you have a lot of followers too.
You got to work hard and looking like you're the expert in what you do, right?
Do your older girls school you on that a little bit too?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? I always say, I think I know everything, and then social media can be completely intimidating. So they're my best teachers.
That's great. All right. She's the branding and marketing expert, creator of Master Brand Method. It's Jen Kem. I want to thank you for being with us. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Enjoyed the chat. Okay. I'm Frank Mallicoat. If you'd like more information, you can go to coronavirusnow.com. Have a great day, everybody.